Hey guys, Carolina Cyclone James here. This is my first ever ride review. I've ridden over 100 roller coasters, so why not give my opinions of the rides I've ridden, rank them, and see if they're underrated, overrated, or overhyped. So without further ado, let's get into my first ever ride review of Dominator at King's Dominion, also known as the underrated Floorless. Dominator is a B&M Floorless that is located at King's Dominion and is one of their highlight attractions. Built in the year 2000 as Batman Night Flight at the now defunct Six Flags Geauga Lake in Ohio, it was relocated from Geauga Lake in 2007 and opened in 2008 at King's Dominion as Dominator. It has been thrilling riders at King's Dominion for almost 20 years. This 5-inversion looper is currently the world's longest floorless roller coaster and is very unique when compared to the rest of the rides in its class. While a lot of people consider it a good ride, it's rarely ever mentioned when it comes to comparisons or rankings, and it's never been fully appreciated for what it is. Today, I'm going to review this ride, give it my honest review, where it ranks on my list, and see if it's better than people think it is. Without further ado, this is Dominator at King's Dominion. Let's start with their location. Dominator is located at the very front of the park, so it's one of the first rides you see upon entering. Because of that, even though it runs 3 trains and is able to do over 1,600 people per hour, the lines tend to get long in the morning, so I recommend riding it closer to the afternoon or at night. The orange and dark blue color scheme, while not the best, is still very good, and its unique layout makes it one of the more beautiful looking floorless out there, and is very satisfying to watch the trains traverse its course, especially in the vertical loop. It's a different color, which actually goes back to its original location when it was themed to Batman under the Six Flags owned park of Geauga Lake. Cedar Fair decided to keep the yellow loop as a way to make it stand out among other floorless, while other coasters do this, such as the stand-up and now defunct Green Lantern. Dominator, to my knowledge, is the only floorless roller coaster to have a unique color compared to the rest of the ride in its loop. It was also actually the world's tallest loop for a while when it opened. For those of you who are unfamiliar with what a floorless roller coaster is, it is essentially a sit-down looper of B&M's model with the floors removed, hence the name Floorless, leading your feet to be able to dangle and be able to give you a more free feeling ride since there's no floor. You feel more open and you're able to experience the ride a lot better, in my opinion, than a traditional sit-down style. The ride experience is very different from other floorless roller coasters, but it has a similar style to Superman Krypton Coaster at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas, being focused on a more twister layout than a traditional looper layout. You board one of its 3 8-car trains. The front and middle row give you more hang time and some airtime across the layout, while the back row gives you much more stronger airtime than the front. When you leave the station, you enter some turns before the lift hill, turning some to the right, then left, then back to the right in a 180-degree turn up into the lift hill. There's some brakes at the beginning of the lift hill to help slow the coaster train down to reduce stress on the chain, and then it climbs its 157-foot tall lift. It enters a pre-drop and twists to the right in about 90 degrees and heads down its 148-foot drop. It then enters its 135-foot tall loop. This loop offers very good positive G's when entering and exiting, and offers a bit of hang time at the top due to its height and the speed of the train as it approaches the top. The front row is the best for this element. It then heads into a banked right turn as it turns 180 degrees towards the station, then rises up into a kind of banked horseshoe turnaround. It then drops back down into a set of trims that, depending on its speed, the weather, and various other conditions, may hit or may not hit before entering its cobra roll. This cobra roll is quite forceful at the beginning and ending, but it's more mild close to the corkscrew part. However, it's still a great element that gives a more drawn-out feeling than most cobra rolls due to its wider design. It then drops back down and heads up a hill while turning left and enters the mid-course brake run. Again, depending on the weather and various other conditions like speed, it may hit harder or may hit less. However, generally it has at least always hit, even on test rides. You then dive down, offering great airtime to people in the front row and some mild ejector to people in the back row. You then enter its interlocking corkscrews. Like most early B&M Floorless roller coasters, these are pretty snappy. While not as snappy as rides like Kumba or the Hulk, it still carries a great bit of speed into them, and I found them quite enjoyable. You then enter an uphill left turn that goes over the track at the end of the ride, and over the track that dives from the mid-course brake run. You then dive downwards and enter another left turn at about 180 degrees before turning to the right and then to the left while going uphill and entering the final brake run. Riders in the front row do get a good pop of airtime into the brake run. You then make a 180-degree right turn before entering the station. Dominator is a pretty underrated Floorless, and as you can see from the ride description and its videos, it's a very unique layout. Most Floorless have 7 or more inversions and are mirrored layouts of the same ride. As an example, Scream is a clone of Medusa. However, Dominator is one of the few Floorless that gives a very unique experience. While stand-ups that are converted to Floorless do the same, they aren't purpose-built as a Floorless roller coaster. The Floorless aspect, as mentioned earlier, helps with the free feeling that you get since your legs are not touching the floor and are left to dangle throughout the ride. With that being said, what is my honest review of Dominator? Well, it's actually my favorite Floorless. To be fair, I have only ridden 2, Rougarou and Dominator, but it'll probably still be among my favorite, if not my favorite Floorless, even after experiencing others of the same model. Because as stated, it is very different. It's not a variant of another Floorless model. It's not the same like Medusa or Scream. It has its own layout and pulls very good positives and negatives while still having the bite of an old school B&M. While not as old school as Medusa or Kumba, it still has those snappy corkscrews and fast-paced experience that those rides offer. It hasn't gotten rough, nor does it have a rattle. In fact, it's one of the few B&Ms that I have experienced from the early 2000s that is still smooth and relative rattle-free. This ride ranks number 3 in my B&M looper list. As for my official rank, it placed 9th out of my 108 coaster credits in my rank. This ride is seriously underrated. As for the verdict, I believe a lot of enthusiasts are missing out on a solid Floorless, and probably the best one made. It has everything a Floorless should have. In fact, the only con is that it has 5 inversions instead of 7. While a 0G roll would be nice, this ride stands out as its own. It's a ride that is unique among its model, and the next time you're at King's Dominion, do not skip out on this ride, because I'm sure you'll realize how good it is. Real quick, just want to thank y'all guys for watching, and make sure to subscribe. This is my first video, as I stated before, of ride reviews, so let me know what you think, and I plan to post many more in the future, so stay tuned.